my pleasure to welcome you here to the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you so you make better financial decisions in your life. You know, one of the ways we empower you is through our websites, and I'm so very proud of our team of writers at Clark.com and ClarkDeals.com. If you've not checked out our websites, please check them out so you can fatten your wallet and reduce your expenses. In this episode, I want to talk about the steps you need to know when you're buying a car. And recently, I covered very heavily new cars. I want to talk about where most of the marketplace is, and that's used vehicles. And I recently read data that a third of car buyers are doing something you absolutely should never do when you're buying a new vehicle. And later, are you traveling this summer? There's something you got to know about the hotel and airline game that is something that started appearing 2 years ago and now is going to be very common this summer. And you got to know it to protect your wallet. So somewhere 75-80% of vehicle purchases that marketplace are used vehicles, because the cost of new vehicles, even though they've come down quite a bit from their COVID peak, they're still crazy amount of money. And most people either won't spend it or can't afford the cost of a new vehicle. The used vehicle market went crazy during COVID, where prices went up 60%, 60% for the average used vehicle, because of distortions that happened because of the issues that happened at Avis, Enterprise, and Hertz. Weirdly, the car rental industry is what had so much to do with demolishing the used vehicle market. There were other factors as well, but it was crazy what happened. So the used vehicle prices are on a steady downturn, and the new vehicle prices are on a downturn, but not as deep and steep because they don't have as far to fall as the used vehicle prices do. So I said that a third of people are doing something absolutely horrific for their wallets. But survey data shows that 1 in 3 people going to buy a vehicle do no research and go straight to a car dealer. Okay, so I want you to think about that. Obviously, if you heard my podcast recently on buying a new car, you know about all the pricing data that's available and the ways to shop online, and that all you're really doing at a dealer is doing a test drive and taking delivery of a vehicle. If you do everything right, you're doing everything else online. Used cars, that works differently. And remember, this is most of the market is the used vehicle purchaser. But with a used car purchase, what you want to know is that each used car has a history. And many times that history is not going to be great. So it's up to you to follow the steps that I've found work over time. If you don't like my steps, somebody else, because there are lots of guides to how to buy a used car, but I love what we have for you at Clark.com. But we've distilled it down into a methodical process of 10 steps you should do when you're buying a used vehicle. And number 1 is the one thing that used vehicle buyers virtually never, ever do. And that is arrange their financing in advance. Overwhelmingly, used vehicle buyers do financing at the dealer. And dealers of used vehicles are expert at driving massive profits through the dealership, through writing the loans and marking them up. So they might wholesale the money at, let's say your credit is okay but not outstanding. They might wholesale the money at 8% and tell you, oh man, it's been so hard to get that money for you. I mean, I've tried lender after lender. I can't believe it, though. I was able to get you a rate below 20%. I was able to get you 18.9%. Now, remember, they wholesaled it at 8%. They're charging you 18.9 and acting like they're your hero. Don't let this happen to you. Very first step when you're buying a vehicle, and I've said it before about new, it's even more critical with used. Arrange your financing in advance with a credit union, a local bank, an online lender, but normally credit union is going to be the cheapest. The one place you don't want to go is one of the big banks because they're going to rip you off on an auto loan. So arrange that financing ahead of time. And then start researching the vehicles that are in your funnel. What's your funnel? It's the brands, the models that you're excited by. Because I could tell you all day long that the best used whatever, best used midsize SUV is blah, blah, blah. But if you're not interested in that brand, that's not going to mean anything to you. It's got to be the vehicles that make your list are the ones that speak to you. I know that's a weird thing to say. If you're not a car person, you don't care, and you just want transportation, then you do my stuff where you make sure you're buying the most reliable. But first, you start with your funnel, and then you research them online. You want to look at Consumer Reports and see the ones that have been the most reliable used vehicles or the ones that are on your funnel list. You want to research their values online, because if you go to a used vehicle dealer, they're going to have a price on that vehicle. And except for CarMax or Carvana, where it's an already transparent, clear price, they're going to have a fake price on that, and they're going to try to fake you out when they're trying to sell you one at $8,000 more than it's worth. And then they say, oh, well, I mean, if you'll buy it today, we'll mark it down $4,000. And you think you stole a deal and you're paying $4,000 above what fair market value is for that thing. So you got to do your homework. And with your phone with you, because people sleep with their phones now, they're with you all the time, you're able to look at real-time data when you're at a dealer after already having done your research, and you're able to see, wait. Edmund says that's actually retail value for that vehicle is this, that, or the other, not what you're saying. Arm yourself with research. Shop around online. Contact the seller. And check the vehicle history report. If that vehicle's been in a bad accident and they're not disclosing it to you, they don't have to. You want to know. If it's got a bad history that's clear from a title report, you're done. But even if it passes that, once you've made a deal, always make it subject to you having it checked by a mechanic of your choosing. With CarMax and Carvana, you take delivery and then you have it checked out. And if it doesn't pass the mechanic's test, you take it back, they give you your money back. With others, they don't have those friendly return policies for a refund. So you have to make part of the purchase that you're having the vehicle checked out by a mechanic of your choosing. Be very aware as you're negotiating prices. They may try to slip in all kinds of extras that you didn't ask for, you don't want. Etching the VIN number on a window, selling you some kind of paint protection package, selling you some kind of piece of garbage extended warranty on the vehicle. Remember, the only extension of a warranty you can trust is one from the manufacturer of that brand itself, not any third-party paper. Usually it's not even worth the paper it's printed on. So know this and look at our full guide when you're buying a used vehicle to make sure you get it right. And you know what's interesting?
What?
The longest information pods I ever do are always about cars.
I know.
Why is that?
Well, it is a complicated process.
And once you buy one, particularly used, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, even if they lied to you, it doesn't
Yeah, because
matter.
they're allowed. If you read the white label on a used vehicle, it even says on there that the dealer is free. They say it in government speak, but the dealer is free to lie to you, tell you anything they want to tell you, and you have to know you can't rely on anything you are told. All that matters is there will be an X through something that says, as is, no warranty. Even if it's checked with warranty, you need to know the terms of that. Is that 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Is it multiple years? And what does it cover? Because no, the truth is not required under the law of a car salesperson.
Okay, so you may have already answered basically a couple of these, but I'll go through them real quick. Shauna in Alaska says, I'm a big fan. I'm learning so much. I'm car shopping and trying to stick to Clark's advice regarding buying a younger used vehicle versus new. I've been interested in several SUVs that are years 2020 to 2021, but I've noticed several are listed with a reconstructed title. I did an internet search. It looks like buying a car with a reconstructed title may come with some risks, such as insurance companies may or may not insure it fully, or premiums may be higher. What is your take on this?
So reconstructed title, what that means is it's in most places referred to as a salvage, meaning the vehicle was totaled by the insurer following an accident. So a salvage title, or in the state of Alaska, a reconstructed title, means that it's a mark of shame that follows that vehicle. Now, vehicles can be totaled for all different reasons following an accident. Some insurers, the airbags deploy, and they say, okay, we're done with that. It can be if the damage to the vehicle is 70% of its remaining value, they're done with it. So an older vehicle that has a salvage title or reconstructed title may not have serious damage to it. It just may be because its value has dropped enough that it does not have enough value left to justify fixing it. So it can actually be potentially a deal.
But you said just earlier, you were like, problems with the title, forget it, you're done.
Right. So let me explain. Okay. So if it's a newer vehicle that has a salvage title,
2020 to 2021 is what she's looking at.
Right. The problem is that vehicle had enough value when it was in the accident that it was probably a pretty serious accident. It may have had significant major frame damage. It may be trouble you're buying. So when you're buying a newer salvage vehicle versus an older one, odds are greater that you're buying trouble buying that vehicle. This is a case where you would absolutely have to have the vehicle checked out twice. It's going to cost you some money. Have it checked out by a body shop to be able to tell you about how severely the vehicle was damaged. You may be done at that point. You may go to a body shop, have them look at it, and they say, oh, man, I would never go near this thing. Or if you pass that test, they say, yeah, yes, okay. Then you'd still want to do the other thing I always say, which is have a vehicle that you've narrowed into checked out by a mechanic of your choosing.
Daniela in Massachusetts says, we have a 2008 Mazda 3. We're looking to get a newer used electric vehicle. We're considering leasing so we can try an EV with the Massachusetts rebate. Should we lease or buy an EV right now?
So there are to an EV lease that make it different than with a gas engine. Electric vehicles are progressing so quickly with the reliability of the batteries, the range of the batteries, and the capabilities. It's almost like computer generations than car generations with how electric vehicles have changed over the last 12 years since they became a consumer product, or 13 years. And so this is one case that doing a 2 or 3 year lease could make sense. I would not do longer than 2 or 3 years, because if you get an electric and you hate it, remember, you're a prisoner of it for the time you're in the lease. But a lease could be a good decision, except if the vehicle you're interested in is a Tesla. The Tesla leases are usually unfavorable, and you're better off buying a Tesla than leasing one.
Anne in Alaska, 2 people from Alaska in this segment. And Anne says, I know Clark has always said no to an extended car warranty. Has his opinion changed at all since cars and trucks have gotten so complicated with computers?
Unfortunately, no. So, Anne, I'm neutral on car warranties. The math is not great on them versus other warranties. They're still not great. But cars are very complicated, expensive things to fix. So buying one from a manufacturer is A-okay if that's something you want to do. The prices are negotiable from dealer to dealer of that brand, but you want the manufacturer's own. You're buying a Toyota, you want one from Toyota. You're buying a Ford, you want one from Ford. You buy a GM, you want it from GM, et cetera, et cetera. The manufacturer's own, not when the dealer says, oh, this is better than the manufacturers. You know who it's better for? It's better for the dealer because they got more markup on it. They got more commission, more profit on the sale of the junk third-party warranties. Stick with the manufacturer's own if you do buy one. Coming up ahead, we're going to talk summer travel, because people are fully in booking mode for summer travel, and there's some stuff I need to make sure you know I'm going to share with you straight ahead. So a lot of people in summer travel who don't normally travel by air or even on long road trips. So summer's different for travel. And I want to tell you a change coming into effect. American Airlines is copying its crosstown rival Southwest, both based in Dallas. And American is no longer going to reward frequent flyer points or build towards status when you book with most third parties. Southwest, almost all bookings for Southwest have always been, at one point, all bookings with Southwest were direct with Southwest. And Southwest.com is where you have to go look to see the fares and all that. They're not on the multi-airline search engines or anything like that. So American is like, wait a minute, why are we giving up all this money to third parties? We want to capture all of it. And so American is going down the path of Southwest, and they're doing something that's more complicated, more difficult. There's going to be a changing array of third parties where you'll be able to book American Airlines tickets and earn AAdvantage miles. And then there'll be most sites where you won't be able to earn AAdvantage miles. But wait, there's more. American is going to not show availability for a lot of their lower fares when you go to a third-party site. You'll only see them at AA.com. Now, will American be able to stick with this? We'll see, because the marketplace will dictate. And American puts stuff out and announces way ahead that they're doing something, hoping that their two full-fare rivals, United and Delta, will follow suit. So far, United and Delta aren't doing either of these big initiatives that American says they're implementing for summer. But odds are things are moving that direction, where travel suppliers more and more are going to only reward you if you book direct. And this is a practice that's become so prominent in the hotel business since all the roll-ups happened and just a small number of hotel companies control almost all the branded hotels in the world. And so now, so often if you're chasing status or chasing some kind of reward or something like that in Marriott or Hilton or Hyatt or International Hotel Group, each of these big hotel conglomerations own as many as 30 different hotel brands under their umbrella. And more, they're only giving the perks that come with the status level or the points that you get for booking if you book direct rather than through third parties. And you just got to know that. The other thing is the hotels have become even more terrible with the junk fees. I mean, they're calling them urban fees, amenities fees. What's the strangest? There was one recently I heard that was just absolutely crazy. But hotels of all shapes, sizes, and descriptions are charging fees. And recently I was booking a limited service hotel. At least I was going to book it because it had a great deal. And then I saw they had a amenities fee. This is a limited service hotel. They had an amenities fee of $25 a night. What amenities? You go there, you get a bed, you sleep, and you get back on the road, and they're charging $25 for amenities. Is it for air conditioning? Is it for the fact they put clean sheets on the bed? I don't know. But what I did is I didn't book it. And so I talked last year about a site when you're booking hotels called resortfeechecker.com. It was a tip originally from a listener, and I use it all the time. And you can go there for a city you're thinking of going to or a hotel you're thinking of staying at, and you can see what junk fees. And it's really funny because I think I mentioned briefly there'd been a reporter for, it was the Wall Street Journal, who stayed at a bunch of different hotels in Las Vegas and booked an $11 room at a hotel. And then the bill was $100 a night. How did it get from 11 to $100? Because the hotel charged a $65 amenities fee on the $11 room, and then you had all the array of hotel taxes and the car rental center fee and all that stuff, and took an $11 room to $100. So knowing when there's a resort fee, when there's not, all that is really useful. And when you're looking for hotels, know that there's both hazard and opportunity using third-party sites. I overwhelmingly book my hotels at Booking.com and the American subsidiary that most people are more familiar with, Priceline.com. Because consistently, I see my best prices there. But I shop the hotels direct. I check hotels.com. I don't use Hotwire anymore because I had too many problems with them. But I do check multiple sources when I book. But most of the time, I end up sacrificing any amenities, any points, anything like that, because my rate can be so much lower than it is otherwise. I'm staying in a hotel next week that I'm paying $84 for the hotel room. It's a good 4-star hotel. And at the hotel's website, booking that same hotel, the cheapest rate was $146, and I'm paying $84. I mean, it's just amazing how much money I'm able to save consistently using Priceline. But you got to get good at using it. We have a guide to how to use Priceline on Clark.com.
Okay,
Christa?
well, I have some travel questions. Daniel in Georgia, I think, is just reinforcing what you talked about. I reserved a hotel that had a mystery environmental impact fee. When I inquired about it, I got a response back about it being a municipal fee with a language that appeared to be taken from a Philippines resort island website. When asking them to cite the municipal fee rule, they simply replied with, "It is our hotel's default charge." No competing hotel brands in the same location had these fees listed when I checked rates. I guess this is now what hotels are resorting to when they aren't a destination or resort to justify junk fees that they don't want in their advertised rates.
There's one a lot of hotels in Los Angeles use called the labor impact fee or some variation of that, where they charge you what is supposedly a split out fee for the cost of the staff they have at the hotel that's added on an allocated basis to your hotel room. I mean, it's crazy stuff, and that's why the price is not the price. And if you go to the bigs, like Marriott's the biggest of the hotel chains, there's now a button you can click on that's a result of a lawsuit Marriott settled, where you can see the rates for all the various Marriott-affiliated brands, including all junk fees in the quote. And it's funny. Do the before and after where you see the list of hotels and don't have the button clicked, and then click it and watch magically. Some of the hotels will double in price once you click the include all fees button.
Okay, this one's from Matt in Wisconsin. He says, my fiance and I are planning a trip to Kenya this summer.
Wow.
When looking at flight options on Google Flights and Kayak, most of the prices come from third-party sellers. Which third-party sellers are okay and which ones should be avoided? I do like using Kayak, but if all the prices come from third-party sellers, how do I know if they're safe to use? I know you've cautioned about this in the past. And also I get lots of questions from people just saying, I'm going to book a flight in, September or this summer. When's the best time to book it? We get a lot of those.
Yeah. So the data on when's best to book an international trip has migrated some over time, but generally international trips, a key window seems to be about 12 weeks out. That's sometime around there, but it's not an always thing, because there could be a sale right now that would cover travel to Europe next January, and it would be a great deal to buy it now and not wait for something cheaper, particularly because if you fly the airline you'd be booking it on with any frequency at all, you're able to use that money if a cheaper fare comes along for another trip later. On the issue of Kayak and Google searches, those crazy third-party sites that pop up, you use any of them at your peril. Even the well-known and recognized ones, doing a complicated itinerary like going to Kenya where you're likely to involve code share flights and multiple flights, it's very risky to use even well-known and recognized third-party sites like Expedia, because when something goes wrong with the flight, they're like, oh, what, us? What do you expect us to do? And the airlines are like, oh, well, we don't help you on this. You booked through somebody else. And then there's all the sketch sites you see on a Kayak search or a search on Google Flights. I do not use the third-party sites for air flights because of all the problems that happen with them, in addition to the fact that a lot of them are really, really sleazy operators.
But you will book through like your American Express portal, right? Or your Capital One?
Okay, so booking, this is a good question. Booking through the American Express's travel portal, Chase or Capital One, they all three have their special portals. There's risk involved with using any of the three of them because it's almost like a double third party. You have the headline site you went through, American Express, Capital One, or Chase, and they're contracting out the actual delivery of services. Something goes wrong. You think American Express, Capital One, or Chase have your back? They don't. They contract out to a third party. So now you've got the credit card site you used, the actual organization handling the bookings, and then you've got the place you're going to, the airline you're flying. I call it hazard with opportunity. You might get a really nice deal through booking on the booking engine. You may get all kinds of extra American Express points or Capital One or Chase points doing it.
American Express has that deal with business class flights where you can get some of them at a discount.
Exactly, and even it doesn't have to be, it could be premium economy
right.
at a discount with certain airlines.
Yeah.
So know that it does have some risk, not the kind of risk you have with the UFOs you see booking with Kayak, but there are risks if something goes wrong with your travel. If nothing goes wrong with your travel, you're just so thrilled because you saved extra money, or with the hotel programs, you got free upgrades to your room, you maybe got free breakfast, early check-in, late checkout. You get these benefits, but with the risk, if let's say the hotel's overbooked, they're like, who are you? Mm-hmm. What are you about? It's just a risk of doing business. But I'd say as long as you understand the risk, if the benefit is good enough, you go for it.
Phil in North Carolina says, we want to tour New Zealand in 2025 and fly business class. I see business class fares from $8,000 to $12,000 round trip.
Crazy, isn't it?
I was thinking of subscribing to going.com and hope to find a much lower fare. If I find one I like, I can then contact local New Zealand tour companies to plan an agenda around these dates. And if you think I should do this, do you recommend any tour companies or websites I can look at to complete the trip?
So I'm not a tour guy. I don't do tours, but I know a lot of people like them. So we have a guide that our travel experts put together on how to choose a tour company at clark.com. Go through the steps there. On the airfare to Australia, New Zealand, I got a couple things to say about that. First, you want to know that the departure city from the United States has more to do with what fare you're going to pay than anything else. Where's Phil?
North Carolina.
Okay. So North Carolina is not a competitive market to the South Pacific at all, or to Asia. So you would want to look at fares out of Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seattle for travel to New Zealand.
What about New York?
Not New York.
Too far the other way, but sometimes they have deals.
Sometimes, but generally you're going to find that the deals are going to be either Texas or West Coast oriented. And you set up alerts on Google Flights, and subscribing to Going would be a great idea. There's too much capacity right now to the South Pacific, to both Australia and New Zealand. And so there will be a deal that pops up, but you're going to have to think in terms of all these departure points. And you've got the luxury of time that you're not going till next year. You also might find a cheaper deal one of two other ways. There may be a deal that to Australia with a free stopover in New Zealand that'll be cheaper than just a ticket to New Zealand, and you pick up Australia with it for a side trip or for as long as you want to stay. The other thing that might work, since the fares are so expensive to Australia and New Zealand, is an around-the-world business class ticket. You need a specialty travel agency. It is an experienced vacation outfit. They could even help you with the tours and help you with an around-the-world ticket in business class.
And Hank in Oregon says, I'm going to China in September on a Viking cruise. We are having difficulty getting a visa. They recommend one company, but that company wants $387 per person. Can you recommend safe and affordable way to get a Chinese visa?
So in this case, I would go with safety. The visa to China, I think, is like $140, $150. So you're getting a $200 and something markup on that visa. Not at all unusual with China, as it's become much more difficult because of our kind of cold peace we're at with China right now. It's not a cold, it's kind of a cold peace. And they're not at all cooperative on Americans coming into China. And that's why you use these specialty agencies that tend to be wired in with the Chinese Foreign Service and make it more possible for the visas to be issued. Even back before the U.S. and China were really at loggerheads, when we went on a staff trip to China 15 years ago, our visas were rejected the first time. And it took serious work and big expense to get those visas issued. So the Chinese thing is one not to mess with, not to cheap out on. The cruise you're taking is so expensive. Don't lose it over the difficulty and the added expense of getting that Chinese visa. Look at it as a cost of doing business. Hate to say that. Want to tell you how much I enjoy having the opportunity to share with you. And I know that you hear me talk a lot about the hazards with travel, but travel is one of the great joys of my life. And so when you hear about something going wrong, or this happened with this ripoff or that ripoff or the other, or people getting pickpocketed in this city or that one, know that stuff does happen. But what also happens is this incredible joy of discovery that I find every time I travel. And as I shared a while back, I was on a flight and I was just looking. So it was such joy on this plane. And a woman sitting next to me said, "Is this your first flight ever?"
That's awesome.
That's how much I love it.
Oh my gosh, the wonder.
I mean, and I'll say to Christa, Christa, do you know you're on an whatever plane?
Yeah, every time. Like, I mean, you're not on the plane with me. You look it up when I'm on
and
the
I'll
flight.
be so excited. I'll say, you got to try to get a seat assignment and row whatever. It's such a great airplane. They do this, that, or the other. And
I'm looking around going, it's a plane.
as my middle child, Steffi, says, it's a plane with wings that flies.
It's a bus in the sky.
No, it's your transporter to adventure and excitement.
True. I love it. I love getting there. I don't love the in-between, which you love.
I love the airports.
You do.
I love the planes. I love the flights.
It's adorable. You're in your Clarka-form with your cargo shorts and your sometimes t-shirt or golf shirt, and you've got your backpack on. You do look like it's your first flight.
I look like I'm in third grade. I always look.
You do.
I mean, I spend my life looking like a third grader. Those of you who watch our YouTube show, you may not be able to see because of this equipment, but I'm here. Let me raise my leg. You can see I'm in my shorts and my tennis shoes and my golf shirt. I mean, I am an unreformed 8-year-old. That's just who I am.
Stay that way. It's awesome.
That's that spirit of joy and discovery and adventure. You think about that kids have that and the excitement in their eyes about something new. Somehow I've retained that my whole life, and I hope it never goes away.
Me too.
And so when you travel, I hope you'll remember that. You have that hassle at security or whatever. Remember what you're going to experience, the fun you're going to have. I mean, I'm even somebody who enjoys traveling for work. What's wrong with me? But I always find something new and fun and different to do. And travel is the best, at least for me. Have a great day. Remember what we're devoted to. You learning ways to save more, spend less, and avoid getting ripped off.